he wouldn't be where he is unless we made him. And I was like, made him? Now that, I get what they're saying. I totally get what they're saying. But made him, okay, Mel Martell, y'all be stretching. Y'all be stretching, okay? So the same way Mel was talking, like talking about Tisha gonna rise up because of her strength. Okay, girl. So Martell talking about we made you. So you know, of course, I think they definitely helped them get started. Now, I wouldn't say made them is a little bit of a stretch, but I get what Martell is saying, and I totally get the upset of him and Mel in this episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Brandy Yvonne channel. Of course, I'm your girl, Brandy Yvonne. Here on my channel, we do fun recaps, reviews, and discussions of all of our favorite shows, y'all. This video, we are talking Owns, Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is season 6. I believe it was episode 19, titled Town Hall Downfall, something like that. Anyway, it'll be correct in the description. Before we get into anything, y'all, I appreciate it if you would hit that like button. I would also highly appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. Okay, enjoying the content, just hit that subscribe button for me. Also, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the episode, and share the video where you like to share your videos, okay? Yes, I'm late. Y'all already know, as I've mentioned a few times already, I was in Vegas enjoying my sister's 30th birthday with her and her friends. We had a really good time. Shout out to Nicole, aka Nikki, aka DJ Nikki D. Happy 30th birthday, girl. Welcome to the 30s Club. Anyway, I thought this episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville was good. Oh, side note, if you're ready to love fan and you want to catch my live review of the part 2 of the reunion, that has already been done. I did it last night, so go check that out after you watch this whole video, okay? Now, as far as my overall thoughts of this episode, I thought this was really, really good. One of their better episodes. It kind of gave me that old Love and Marriage Huntsville feeling. So that's one thing I really enjoyed about this episode. A couple parts I could have did without, but for the most part, it reminded me of the first couple seasons, and that's what I really enjoyed about this episode. Let me know what y'all thought overall of the episode, if you liked it or you didn't like it. Okay, so the other thing I liked about this episode is that they had an interesting way of kind of addressing the elephant in the room, which is the cameras, which is the fact that now we're on the show together, even though we've known each other in business and friendship all these years. Now we're on this show together. So they broke the fourth wall, but it was in a very interesting way that they did it. So that's the other thing I liked about that. So anyway, let's get into the review. So the episode picks up where they left off last week with Mel and Marcel going back and forth. I put on Twitter that that particular scene made me reminded me of why we like the show, and I really enjoyed it because they go back and forth very well. And you know, Mel has no problem serving it right back to Marcel. Marcel, yes, he's an a-hole. He's trolling us, okay? He's trolling them. Marcel knows he's getting under everybody's skin. He knows how to get a rise out of everybody. He kind of is like the Kimmie Moore of Huntsville. Like, he's purposely being a villain. He's purposely being antagonistic. Like, he's doing it on purpose. So, like, the way people get so worked up about it, it's like, it's Marcel, okay? And he's funny, okay? Say what you want, but it'd be funny, okay? So, anywho, Mel, it picks up where Mel's saying, see, the thing you worried about, Marcel, is that you don't want Tisha to be friends with this strong black woman right here, and then she gonna get the strength of this woman right here, and she gonna get up and leave your manipulative, cheating ass. Okay, she said all that again. I was like, okay, Mel, the strength of you, girl, yes. Side note, I forgot to mention the last episode about when Mel was fixing her eyelash, and Marcel was like, don't cry. And she was like, cry over what? Cry over what? And that's how she ended up saying that. I forgot to mention in the last review, and somebody else said it in their review, and I was like, oh, I forgot that part. But anyway, that was funny. So anyway, Marcel was like, nah, that's not what it is. Nah. And then he was like, no, I don't want you and Tisha not to be friends. I want you guys to be friends. That's never been the case. I always wanted you and Latisha to get along. And so she was like, that's not what your actions have shown. That's not what it's shown. And so she's like, every time we got into it on social media beefs, you know how they have all day drama on social media with Love and Marriage Huntsville. I feel like we haven't heard about a lot of that lately. I think Carlos King went down there and got them all the way together after that big old brawl. But anyway, she said, basically every time there was a beef, it was me and you, not me and Tisha. And so he was like, come on, like that was back in 20, she's like 20. He's like 2019. I was like 2019. She's like, no, 2020. And so he was like, the thing is like, she's like, I just want you to admit that you're taking jabs at my business and you try to say, you try to reduce me to selling t-shirts and you need to stop gaslighting me and all that. And he's like, I'm not taking jabs. How is me having an opinion taking jabs? He's like, me having an opinion of what was said taking jabs. And so she was like, you talking about what was said about to the Fletchers? And so he was like, yeah, like I view, the e-commerce thing is like trinkets to me. Like, yeah, I do that business too. It's like trinkets to me. He's like, I didn't want someone else up there who just sells t-shirts. And she's like, but I don't just sell t-shirts. That's what I'm saying. He's like, okay, we all sell t-shirts. I sell t-shirts. Teachers sell t-shirts. She's like, okay, and I sell t-shirts too. And what? And she's like, I also do other stuff. And she was like, I've been doing $1 million. I've had, businesses that were bringing in $1 million a year way back when you met me back in 2014. Like, you know that, and you put some respect on my name. And so she was like, the thing is like, you didn't want me up there speaking. She also asked him, how much money did you bring in? Did you guys pay yourself since you sell t-shirts? Like, how much did you pay yourself? He's like, what is that relevant to the conversation? And so she was like, okay, well, it's funny how you didn't want me to speak you were okay with me speaking and you were not going to pay me. But then you decided when you weren't paying me, then I didn't have enough business acumen to speak. And I've had all this business acumen. Like, what are you saying? And so then she was like, I could have said I didn't want to do business with someone who has a $5 million fraud lawsuit. I was like, ooh, you better get him, girl. So then he was like, okay, and that will be fine if you said that. That would be your opinion. That would be totally fine. And then she was like, I've been having, he was like, I don't know what you do now. Like, that's the thing. I don't know what you do now. She's like, what are you talking about? I don't just sell t-shirts. Like, I do property preservation. And he's like, oh, I didn't know you did that. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, you met me when I was doing it back in 2014. Like, that's what I got you into. Like, what are you talking about? I've been doing that. You commented on one of my classes on social media. And he was like, I honestly didn't know what you do. I honestly didn't know that you still did property preservation. Now, I call BS on Martell. I'm pretty sure he knows everything Mel's into. I'm pretty sure, especially if they all got in a business together with Scott and all that. I know he knows everything that she does. Maybe not every little thing, but he has an idea. So anyway, and so then she was like, we wouldn't we went in business together. Like, what are you talking about? And he was okay, but went bankrupt. And then she was like, okay, see, there you go again. She was like, okay, let's be clear. I filed bankruptcy when my ex-husband filed bankruptcy because I didn't want to be stuck with all those bills. Mind you, every time I was cracking up because Mel would refuse to say Martell's name in the scene. She kept saying ex-husband. She would not say Martell. So I'm like, girl, we know who you're talking about. But anywho, she was like, I ain't giving Martell that one. So then she's okay, you filed bankruptcy too. I filed bankruptcy because I was getting divorced. Like, you filed bankruptcy because you was, down real bad, basically. And so he's like, okay, everybody at this table was filed bankruptcy. Like, and what? Like, and so she was like, you just need to admit, like, you be taking jabs and all that. And so he was like, how's, me taking jabs I'm having an opinion. Like, I'm not trying to take jabs. I'm just having an opinion on the business. And she was like, what I'm saying is that you need to put some respect on my business acumen. Like, I've been doing, all this business for years. Like, she said she made $1 million. She's been doing business when you met me. So, put some respect on my name. And he was like, what, honestly, I didn't know you were still doing the property preservation thing. He said, well, every time I looked on social media, it looked like, it was this business after this business. It looked like you was throwing a bunch of things on the wall and seeing what stuck. And so she was getting like frustrated, like, oh, Marcel, you need to stop. And so they kind of both agreed to disagree. And so he said, let me just tell you, like, that was only one part of the conversation. I feel like the Fletchers like blew everything up. Like, no, I don't respect e-commerce. I wouldn't want you up there talking about that. He's like, the thing is that, yes, I respect everything you do as a businesswoman. I respect you. He said, however, you're able to sell t-shirts and everything because of the platform that you have now. And he said, without that platform, you do have business acumen, but without the platform, you wouldn't be selling as much as you sell now. And he said, I wouldn't want you, those people up there that are there trying to like, get their business started, you wouldn't be of value to them. Basically, he's saying she wouldn't be of value to them because they don't have the same platform she does, so they're not going to be on a level that she does. Now, that's also BS, Marsau, because she can still inspire them to get to that level. And then he did break it down further at the town hall. I get what he's saying, but that doesn't mean that she wasn't good enough to speak, okay? Not in any regard. So then they did disagree, like I said, and they said from now on, they're going to say they're, having an opinion on each other, is not taking jabs at each other. Okay, cool. So he said, now that we're, in a much better space, he invited her down to the town hall that Kimmie and Maurice is having. She's like, Kimmie and Maurice is having it. And he said, well, they're throwing it for us because, we're going to be the ones getting the feedback. And so she's like, okay. So Mel said in her confessional, it's funny how she wasn't good enough to speak at the expo, but she's good enough to give feedback at the town hall. And she said she's going to definitely go down there and give some constructive criticism. I said, I know that's right. So anywho, the next scene, we see, this scene was tied. Tiffany and Lewis go down to the park with the baby. Now, first of all, it's too soon to have that baby out. First of all. Second of all, it looked too cold to have the baby out in the grass in the park. Like, y'all could have did that at the house. Like, girl, I know you ain't been a new baby born mama in probably 15, 16 years, but you should know better about taking that baby out. Even I know that. I don't have no kids. Anyway, she had that baby out, and she's just guilt-tripping Lewis, being passive-aggressive the whole time. Oh, I'm glad Daddy could finally make time for us. Oh, I'm glad you could finally, be out here with us. He's like, okay. And she's like, yeah, finally we're spending quality time. He's like, okay, we're here with quality time. And so she said she thought that when baby Ace was born, that baby Ace is just going to have to get up and go and keep up with her. But actually, in reality, baby Ace slows everything down. And I'm like, duh, Tiffany, duh. Didn't that Lewis say that all last season? That the baby thing was not going to work for her? And look what's happening now. Now, granted, I'm sorry she's dealing with postpartum depression, and a lot of women go through that. So I'm sure she is helping a lot of women by talking about it, and kudos to her for talking about it. I have no problem giving her flowers and her positivity. Okay, so I'm sorry she's going through that. I really do hope Tiffany gets the help she needs. However, Lewis stressed that this was going to happen, and you didn't want to listen because you just was determined to have your baby, Tiffany. So now that this has happened, girl, this is what it is. I don't understand what's the loss of connection for Tiffany here. I don't get it. She says she sits in the rocking chair sometimes and she just cries. And she think about all the stuff she needs to do. She want to lose weight, but she got to wait 8 weeks to work out. She can't lift nothing heavier than the baby. She think about the dog, needs to go out the trash, needs to go out the dishes, needs to be put away and all this stuff. And she took for granted how much Lewis does. And Lewis is like, okay, this is no different than when you was always on the road and I was complaining and I was doing everything. Like, okay, what's the difference? Now Lewis pulling the wife card on her like, okay, you ain't doing nothing new. And my thing is, if they got those two teenage boys, the teenage boys could be doing all them chores. Like, no, that shouldn't be all on Tiffany. And then Tiffany did make a comment saying like, oh, you finally said last year we got a baby because you knew you weren't going to be here. And so he's like, no, that wasn't it. Like, because Lewis, I guess, got a new job coaching for, I think it's Alabama A&M. That's his alma mater. And he's assistant baseball coach and pitching coach, okay? Which is like a dream job for him because y'all know he loved him some baseball, right? And so he said he didn't plan to be gone, but, he stayed there the first few weeks the baby was born, and he had to get back on the road. He's doing this to improve his family's life. And, he said whether he had the job or not, of course, things are going to be harder with baby Ace. And he's trying to reassure Tiffany, like, everything's fine. Like, you just had a baby. You can't expect, all these things to be back in place and all that. And she's like, I thought that once baby Ace came, our life would be the same like it was before baby Ace, and now it's really different. And he's like, yeah, of course. Like, that's what I was telling you. I'm like, Tiffany, are you slow? Are you slow? So anywho, and she said in her confession that she had this dream vision reality of, all these things, how it was going to be a baby Ace, and it's not that reality. This has been hard for her. And again, I'm sorry it's hard for you, girl, but you were warned. I don't know what you thought was going to happen. I don't know why you acted surprised. I don't know why you acting confused. I just hope she gets the help she needs for her baby, her pardon depression and all that and her baby blues. I do hope she gets help for that. However, like Lewis said, this was not going to be easy, and you insisted on having this baby. So now this is what it is. And so she says she gets worried about him being on the road and what he's doing on the road, and she wants him to spend more time with her, and she be wondering if he's looking at other women on the road and how's he going to feel when he comes home and all that. And I was like, okay, now you worry he cheating on you, girl. And she was like, of course there's temptation out there, but I'm going to stay the same who I am, and I'm not, basically he ain't going to cheat on her. And so she's giving him a hard time, and then he was like, you want more quality time? You want quality time like you ain't been getting it, or you need more? She said she need more, because he's like, it's a difference. And so he said, okay, I'll start, spending more time with you, dang. So, yeah, Lewis, just come home a little more often, I guess. I don't know. Tiffany, girl, I don't know what to tell you. So anyway, one thing I don't like that Tiffany does, and her other side, her white side was coming out that whole like, I know you had concerns because you didn't spend a lot of time with your father. Your father didn't spend a lot of time with you as a kid. So isn't that, something that's, bothering you? Same thing with baby Ace. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, my father wasn't there when I was like 10 and 12. Like, Ace is a baby. Like, it's not the same. And I was like, and he was like, that has nothing to do with right now. And, you know how them other, our counterparts got a way of bringing up your problems to you. And using it against you, and that's what she was doing, and I like that, okay? But anyway, moving on for them. Child, get that baby back in some warmth. Anywho, the next scene is the town hall. This scene was funny to me, okay? So, we got the town hall. Maurice comes first, and then I think Martell came, and then Latisha, Marsau came. Tiffany also came. They were like, okay, who else is coming? They said Mel's coming as well. And, I believe Stormi and Courtney had came at that point as well. I like Stormi's all white outfit, by the way. So when Stormi and Courtney came, Stormi did not greet Marsau. Stormi, Marsau, he noticed it, but he wasn't tripping. So Marsau said he actually met with Mel. Well, they had coffee. And they talked about what the Fletchers, had said to Mel and, his opinion on Mel's business and all that. And so what he basically told them, what he told Mel is that Mel, she's able to sell as much as she does now because she has this platform. She wasn't selling things before she got the platform, but now she, is able to sell more because she has this platform. And so then Shady Production gonna play the little opening music for the show and put up the sign, the logo for Love and Marriage Huntsville. I say, ooh, y'all tried it, because the platform obviously is the show, so that's what I'm saying with the fourth wall. And so Martell was like, okay, wait a minute, he don't want nobody talking about Mel. He's like, wait a minute, well, you wouldn't be able to do what you do without this platform. Like, okay, we all wouldn't be able to do what we do without this platform. So he said that he feels that like e-commerce is mediocre and it's nothing. And he said it's different than someone like Stormi, who was already selling products before the show, so that would be more respectable to him. Okay, I get what he's saying, because maybe the people could relate to a Stormi who was already doing good before the show, but that doesn't mean they couldn't relate to Mel. And so Martell was like, no, you need to put some respect on it, because none of us would be doing anything without the you wouldn't be selling what you're selling without the platform as well. True that, Martell. And so he said, nothing is small. So Martell tells a story about how he started out cutting grass when he was younger, and he went from one lawn to big lots, and he's making $100,000 a year, and that's relevant. And so I think at that point Kimmie came in, and Kimmie said, well, it's all very important and relevant, like everybody will want to hear that story. And I agree. Like, I think everything like that couldn't go into the town hall. I don't think there's little I's and little you, like the way Marcel is saying it, like, okay, it doesn't matter. She still has a business acumen. So, as she said, I'm tired of that term, by the way, y'all. So, anywho, Mel came in, and so they're all like, oh, Mel, like Marcel said this. And so they were like, did Marcel apologize to you? Because he was saying how he apologized to Mel for the way it, came across. And so she was like, well, first of all, hi, y'all. And so she said, I came in here, everybody was on Mel, on a rah, and I was coming in here on the high, on a zen, because I'm ready to fly out, because Mel got a flight to catch. Side note, I'm not one for a moo, but that outfit Mel came in with, and it had that like 70s look, and that purse and the hair was everything. I loved it, loved it, loved it. So anyway, so she was like, yes, Marcel and I did meet up. And Marcel, yes, he did apologize. She's like, ain't that right, Marcel? And he's like, yes, it's right. And so Latisha, I'm assuming she was doing notes on her phone. I don't know. And Marcel looked like he was supposed to be writing something down. To me, it didn't look like they were taking in no feedback for real. But maybe they were. So they began to do the whole feedback thing. And Mel said, she already talked to Marcel and Latisha about the event, and especially Latisha and what went well and everything like that. She said next time she thinks they need to have like breakout sessions, like something for the makeup and the hair artists and the photography, so people can really know, what they want to get into and focus on that more. And so Tiffany also chimed in saying, like, maybe next time know your audience to know what they want to do. Tisha said they wanted to do breakout sessions from the beginning, but after every meeting with the group, when it seemed like people wasn't really trying to participate, then they kind of squashed it, but they definitely want to do that moving forward. My thing with this comeback group and Core 6, whatever they want to call it, and the Scots, like, either we're going to do it as a Core 6 or it's just going to be the Scots. Like, they need to make that clear because it's very much all over the place. And so, Stormi then says, my thing is like from a motivational standpoint, like I think people need to be motivated because like you could be wanting to do something, but you don't even know the places to start. And I know I just had to get my mind right when I got my business started. I had to come from like a motivational standpoint, and I get what Stormi is saying. And so then Marcel said, well, people go in there with all that motivational stuff, and they're like, yes, we got a guy, we're going to do all this. And then they leave there with nothing. And so then Stormi didn't like what Marcel said. So Stormi was like, I wasn't just saying like motivation. That's not what I meant. And he was like, but you used the word motivation. And then so then Marcel said something, and she's like, well, you were pointing at me. And so then she kind of stopped responding to him and looked at her phone. And so I was like, that was weird. So then Mel said something about motivation. She was like, okay, yeah, with the motivation thing, like, I think it would have been good to have like, people getting motivated saying, okay, you need to talk to this person up here, and you need to get with this CPA, get with this attorney, you need to get with this person, make the connections, and then have that motivational piece at the end. So everybody's just ready to get going and get in gear. So then Stormi made a face because Marcel and Latisha were like, okay, yeah, I think Stormi made a face because everybody received the motivational piece better when Mel said it versus when Stormi said it, even though they're technically saying it's pretty much the same thing, right? And so I noticed Stormi made a face. So then, like, dang, like I just said the same thing. So then Stormi looked over at Courtney and was like, oh, can you tell him what my question was? So then Courtney said something, they beeped it out. And so then Marcel said, actually, I want to hear what Courtney's wife has to say about motivation. And when he said that, Mel turned her head and was cracking up. Now, I rewinded that part several times because I was cracking up when he said, I want to hear what Courtney's wife has to say. And so then, they're all just kind of going back and forth, y'all. And so then Courtney was like, no, I think that's the part where Marcel was like, no matter what, I think, I'm going to receive the feedback from y'all no matter what y'all got to say. Don't matter to me, don't bother to me. Like, just say what you got to say. And so then I think that's when Courtney was saying, I think you need to let Tisha take the lead. And then he was like, what? Like, what are you saying? And so he's like, I think you need to let Tisha take the lead on this because when you do it, it's disorganized. You need to let Tisha take over and Tisha do the talking. And so he was like, well, you can't really get your opinion because you wasn't there. You was in New York. And he was like, okay, well, you need to let Tisha take over. And so Marcel said, the thing is, with us in our business, we don't have gender roles. Now, there's a couple of comments they all were making because they were talking over each other, and a couple of things I didn't quite hear. I kept rewinding it, but I could not hear it, and they didn't always put subtitles up. So then Marcel said, it doesn't matter. Like, you guys give me the feedback you want to give me. It's all good. And so he said, I was an A student, so it doesn't matter. So Kimmie was like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? Like, I was an A student too, that's irrelevant. And so she also said they were getting down this rabbit hole and being unproductive with the way, Marsau and Stormi and Courtney were going back and forth. And so Kimmie was like, this is not going how I planned. Like, they're getting off track. Mel did notice the tension. She's like, I don't know what the tension is between Stormi and Courtney and Marsau, but it is thicker than the Snickers. That's what she said in the confessional, right? By the way, that yellow and that hair, so cute. With the yellow flower confessional, looks so cute. So anyway, and so then I think this is when Mel chimed in about next time, they want to see the event be more organized and things like that. And so, from top to bottom, be organized and all that. And so, Tisha was like, you don't feel the event was organized? And so Mel was like, no, I didn't feel it was organized. Even with the planning, it wasn't organized. The event wasn't organized. And so, and having more streamlined. And she said, for example, vendors are paying $100 for a booth the day of. Like, that should not have been happening. And so Tisha kind of gets offended and was like, okay, well, we're not here to talk about anything about the planning process or anything like that. We're here to talk about the actual event. Like, there was no issues with the planning process and things like that. We're here to talk about just the event. So Mel got to throw her trash away. She's like, oh, no, we're going to talk about all of it. We're not going to just talk about the event. We're going to talk about the planning stages and everything and what was not organized. And I agree with Mel. Like, we can't talk about just the event and not talk about that part. Like, are you crazy? And so she was like, this whole time, everybody been giving feedback. The teacher been quiet. This is what she said in confessional. The teacher been quiet. But then when I say something, then she's, getting all mad and offended. And that's all I'm going to say. And I thought that was weird, too. I didn't understand what the teacher got upset about in that part. I'm assuming because that $100 thing is coming back up. Maybe that's why she got offended. I don't know. I didn't get that part. So anyway, so they then get on the whole issue with who paid what and all that and the vendors. And so Courtney was like, yeah, something about the event being disorganized. And so Stormi brings up, yeah, because, he going to ask me for $100 on the day of. And, we weren't told we had to pay. And so Maurice said something to Courtney, and Courtney is like, well, I wasn't there. I was in, well, they said, well, no, Maurice said you guys had a big booth. So what are you talking about? Like, what are you saying? And so then Courtney's like, well, I wasn't there. I was in New York. So Maurice is like, okay, that's the thing. You wasn't even there. And he was like, okay, Stormi, like, what's the problem? And so she was saying, like, we didn't know we had to pay. And so she's like, even Kimmie didn't know. And so Maurice turned to Kimmie saying, you didn't know we had to pay $100? Now, didn't Maurice a couple weeks ago say he didn't realize that Marsau wasn't charging all the vendors and he paid, so he's going to talk with Marsau? I think what happened is Maurice talked to Marsau. Of course, he's going to get on the same page as his brother because that's his brother. So now he's going to talk like as if he knew they had to pay when he did not know that they paid and other people didn't pay. But he ain't going to tell that in this scene, but that's fine. So anyway, he going to stick beside his brother, right? So then Kimmie was like, how would I have known? Like, no, we did not know we had to pay. Because remember, Kimmie didn't know they paid $100 till Maurice told her when they was riding them bikes. And so Marcel says, I didn't know if I had to throw a birthday party, then I was going to have to make sure you knew that that it wasn't your birthday and it was my birthday. So then Stormi gets irritated. She's like, what are you talking about birthdays? Like, I'm getting out of here. And so then at some point, I don't know if it was right before that or whatever, Tiffany asked about, so, there is going to be another, I think it was after Mel had made her comments before she took off for her flight. Tiffany, I said, okay, so is there going to be another Black Business Expo? And Marcel said, yes. Side note, let me back up because when they were saying, gender roles and women being respected, and so Marcel was saying, he respects women and all that. And so he's like, yeah, contrary to what you may believe, it's equal gender roles here. I respect all women. If you weren't used to being valued and respected, you're respected here by me. And and so then he was like, yeah, I know. And so then Tiffany's like, oh, you're respecting us at our opinion here. And he was like, yes, I know that's shocking to you, but yes, I do respect women. And so then Stormi made a comment of like, oh, always gotta get the last word, And so then she called him the B word, right? But she's like saying stuff in her breath over there. And that's one thing I don't like about Stormi. And I do like Stormi, but that's one thing I don't like about her. She's very passive aggressive. Like, she don't keep the same energy. Because if you say it directly to Marcel, quit whispering it to Courtney or under your breath or looking under your phone and getting small. Like, say what you're going to say with your chest, girl. So then she called him the B word, right? And so then Marcel, she's like, yeah, always acting like a bitch. Always acting like a bitch. And so then he's like, yes, I am a bitch. And he's like, yeah, I'm a bad bitch. I'm a big bitch. And so then Martell's telling him, like, yeah, shake it, throw it in the circle. He's like, oh, yeah, I will shake it. I will throw it in the circle. Yes, I am a bad one. And so then Kimmie was like, okay, this is not serving us. We're getting off track. Okay, so then fast forward after Mel had left and Marcel made that stupid birthday comment, which I was irritated too, because I was like, what are you saying? That is not a good analogy. What he did there was not a good analogy. So anyway, Stormi got fed up. Stormi also in her confession when they said that this, because when Tiffany had said, "Are y'all throwing the next one?" And so Marcel and Tisha said, we are going to throw another Black Business Expo. And so Stormi thought that they were coming together to plan the next one as a collective. And I don't understand how they thought that, because it was a town hall to give criticisms. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's unclear. Like, we need to plan it as collective or just let Black with a Q do it. I don't know. So anyway, like Stormi said, I wouldn't even came here. I would stay home. Courtney said, I just came as you came. So then Stormi got irritated with that birthday comment. She's like, come on, Courtney, let's go. And so they're like, oh, you're not going to come to the next one? And then Courtney said, I don't come to things that are disorganized. We don't participate in things that are disorganized. And so Marcy's like, come on, man. And so Stormi was like, the thing is, I think when they had mentioned $100, she might have said this, by the way. There's so much conversation, y'all. So forgive me if I was out of order, but y'all got the gist of it. So Stormi, I don't know why, but in my mind, Stormi and Courtney's names should be flipped. Stormi was saying, I didn't come to y'all and say I want to be a part of this thing. Y'all came to me. And so, and then I think that's when Courtney said they're not going to do it again. So they don't want to be in something that's disorganized. And Marcia's like, come on. And so then Marsau was like, okay, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Steele. Like, have a good night. And so Marsau also said in his confessional, like, Stormi tried to call me out my name to get a rise out of me. Things she don't realize is like, that's not going to make me upset. I'm going to take it in and be fine. You're going to be the one leaving upset and I'm going to be calm. And I said, he hit it on the nail. That's exactly what Marsau does with everyone, especially the women. That's exactly what he does. He lets you elevate and he stays here. You could call him whatever name in the book. He don't care. He's going to let you elevate and he stays here and then look at you crazy. And you're going to be the one looking crazy. So Stormi said she had to get Courtney out of there. She whispered something to Courtney in his ear about Marsau. And she said she had to get Courtney out of there because, she didn't know. She knows that he don't have a good temper and she don't know what he's going to do. But Courtney was laid back. He wasn't tripping. Stormi was the one getting upset, especially when he did that little stupid birthday party thing. So, anyway, they left. And so, like I said, Marcel was like, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Steele. I was hollering at that part too. And so then Courtney was like, you do know that I think said Bringsley, whatever his last name is, and she's Steele. And so, and then she's like, yeah, he don't have a problem with that. So don't be saying that. And then he's like, okay. And so, Marsau in his confession was like, yeah, he had to get him with another dart at the end. Of course, he's trolling Stormi. He's totally trolling Stormi because he knows he can get a rise out of her. That's it, and that's all, y'all. So anywho, sound like I'm losing my voice. Anyway, Kimmie's like, we're gonna have to have a drink, like telling Tisha, girl, like, get your husband, y'all doing too much. And so Marsau was like, I thought it went well. I thought it was fine. Like, yeah, right, Marsau. So anywho, then we see Kimmie at her office. That dress she had on was really cute. And she invited Nell Fletcher over. Nell had on her Tina Turner wig, okay? She had a piece of hair flying this way, stepchild. Anywho, Nell Fletcher came over. And so Kimmie says she invited Nell Fletcher over to explain to her why, they had the town hall meeting and did not invite the Fletchers, even though they originally said they would invite them, but then they had the meeting anyway. So she said North Huntsville is very small. She don't want her to hear it in the streets. She wanted to hear it from her. So at first I'm like, Kimmie, why are you doing all this like drama scenes lately, like causing all this stuff? Like, that's not you. That's not genuine. I didn't really get it. But then when they sat down to talk, you know, Kimmie communicated in the way she genuinely does. And then I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. So, Kimmie let her know, like, girl, how you doing? You know, you feel like you moving forward, people. She's like, yeah, her and teacher gonna be work in progress, but they moving forward. She's good. So she said, we had the Black Business Expo. You guys weren't invited. And then I told you, remember at Tiffany's event, we said we're gonna have a town hall. We're gonna invite you guys. However, we already had the meeting and we didn't invite you. Okay. And so Nell's thing is like, well, why would you have the meeting and not invite me? And first you say you're gonna invite me, but then you gonna have the meeting and not invite me. And she's like, we've been doing business for 30 years in North Huntsville, longer than all of y'all. So why wouldn't y'all invite me? She's like, we the original love Marriage Huntsville. Okay. So, Kimmie's thing is like, yes, originally I thought, okay, Tisha messed up. She didn't invite you to the Black Business Expo. So we should at least correct it, invite you to the town hall. But then when I thought about it in the long run, I thought, well, I would rather have feedback from people being there who were actually there at the event, because basically Kimmie didn't want her there throwing shade. Nell said I would have been on good behavior. I would not have been, being shady or nothing like that. Yeah, she would have, Nell. You would have been shady, girl. But okay. She's like, Nell's like, I don't understand how you can make that decision for me not to come to your event. And so Kimmie's like, well, it's my event. And so Nell's like, okay, girl. And so Nell's like, I understand what you're saying. And Kimmie explained, like, why she changed her mind and not inviting her. And she was like, so Nell's like, I get it. Like, that's fine. I don't agree, but I understand what you're saying. It is your event. Nothing I can do at the end of the day. Nell feels like, it's a slap in the face that they would not invite them to the expo and they not invite them to the town hall when they have all this wealth and of knowledge and experience. But she, they agree to disagree, and Kimmie's happy with that. And she said, moving forward, they will make sure they invite them to other stuff. And she said, you are very pleasant. You came in very sweet, and I'm glad about that. Miss Nell says, I'm a very nice, sweet person. And so Kimmie's like, well, you got a little nice, nasty too. She's like, well, we all got a little nice, nasty to us when we need it. And so they agreed to move forward. I love the way Kimmie articulated and communicated that. Like, Kimmie always gets it right with communication. Like, most of the time. I'm not going to say always because nobody's perfect, but she really, she like explained it well, still firm in her decision, and kind of de-escalated Nell. So Nell couldn't even, escalate if she wanted to. So if she did, she would have looked crazy. Okay, so then the final scene we got is with Martell's out there with Fred. I forgot all about Fred. We ain't seen Fred in a good year or so. So Fred and Martell are now in the business together. Okay, they're building homes, and so they're breaking ground on a house. Martell let us know the confessional that after his divorce from Melody, he had to file for bankruptcy. He was doing bad financially, emotionally, spiritually. I'm like, have you passed that builder's license test, though, Martell? He didn't got with Fred because Fred didn't pass his. Okay, so anyway, they breaking ground on the house, and Fred is giving Martell his props. He's like, yeah, you did this on your own. You went down and got the permit from the city, and you did the plans by yourself. You really doing your thing. Martell's like, yeah, let me just sit back and do my thing. He said he in a better space now. He doing his thing. So Chris Fletcher pulls up, right? And so he sees how they're doing. Martell making a comment about his tight pants. He said he's trying to be like Martell. And so he asked him about the house that they're building. So Martell said, he's like, what's the timeline? He said, building in September, put it on the market in September is Martell's timeline. I was like, oh, okay, Martell, I guess. So Chris is like, oh, you're going to put it on the market because Chris trying to sell these houses, okay? And so Fred said it is a renter's market. And so, because Martell said he might rent it out himself. And so, so Chris Fletcher's like, well, speaking of rent, he's like, when you gonna move out the house? And so Martell was like, probably like in a week or so. He's like, well, it needs to be before the first. So he was like, yeah, like a week or so. So Chris Fletcher's like, the first is not a week. And so Fred is over there like, dang, Chris, like he got to move out like that. And so Chris is like, I have this responsibility to my clients. Like, yeah, Martell's my friend, but I have to be responsible to my clients, and they are ready to sell this house, and you are still in it. And Martell had been in this house for months. So Fred, don't feel sorry for him. Also, Fred was trying to be on TV so bad. Y'all see how Fred kept inserting himself in the conversation? Fred said he gonna be a friend of the show if he ain't nothing else. Okay, I ain't mad at you, Fred. So anyway, Chris Fletcher said in his confessional that he's really sick of Martell doing this, like, friend or not, like, he need to get his ass out the house. And yes, he does. And so Fred was like, you got something else? And Martell, I could tell he lied because he put his head down because he's like, oh yeah, I got something else. I got something else. He ain't got nothing else. So anyway, Martell was like, well, I don't know how you expect me to do it. He's like, you're going to bring your trucks over and help me. He's like, okay, fine. I'm like, Martell, this man been telling you to move for how long? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. So anywho, Martell switches gears and asks Chris Fletcher as he talked to Marsau. Now, I was like, now what made him ask that? But anywho, we make a TV. So, he's like, we had our dinner or whatever, they had the Black Business Expo, supposed to be for North Huntsville community. Yet you didn't know I had a daycare right over here in North Huntsville. And so Martell's like, Marsau didn't know he had a daycare. So Martell's laughing at, because he knows how Marsau is, so he's laughing at all this stuff. And so he's like, he said he didn't know you had a daycare. So Fred's like, well, I didn't know you had daycare. Chris was like, well, that's fine because me and you ain't really know each other like that. But like, clearly Marsau and Chris Fletcher have known each other, clearly, right? So then they're like, yeah, Marsau's a trip. So then he talked about the whole thing with saying about Skull. And so he's like, yeah, he said that, Skull, where is it? Who owns it now? And the whole bankruptcy thing. And he was like, what? Like, how dare he? Like, I brought him in on Skull. Like, me and Melody were doing Holt and Holt. And we said we're going to run it just like Holt. No, we're going to do Skull. And then you're going to buy me out. And so he was like, no, he need to put some respect on my name. And he was saying, y'all not professional enough to speak. And so he's like, what are you talking about? Mel is a good speaker. And so Fred said he saw Mel down to the BBC speaking and she did a really good job. And Martell's like, yeah, he's the best. She's the best speaker you can get. Like, that is one of the better speakers you would want. She's been speaking since back when he said when they were wearing something back in the day, she used to be speaking. Okay. So then he was like, you need to put some respect on our name. Like, how dare you? Like, y'all wouldn't have none of the stuff y'all have if it wasn't for me and Mel doing what we did to help y'all out. Like, y'all need to put some respect on our name. And so Martell in his confessional said that if he would have knew that Marsau was talking like this, he would have addressed it at the town hall. He said, how's Marsau gonna talk like this when me and Mel pretty much made him? He wouldn't be where he is unless we made him. And I was like, made him? Now that, I get what they're saying. I totally get what they're saying. But made him, okay, Mel Martell, y'all be stretching. Y'all be stretching, okay? So the same way Mel was talking about Tisha gonna rise up because of her strength. Okay, girl. So Martell talking about we made you. So, of course, I think they definitely helped them get started. Now, I wouldn't say made them is a little bit of a stretch, but I get what Martell is saying, and I totally get the upset of him and Mel in this episode, because Martell's thing was when he's talking to Chris and Fred, he was saying, put some respect on her name. Like, you guys wouldn't have anything you have if it wasn't for us bringing you into the business. I don't like when people, disrespect you for what you did, even though you didn't help them get to where they at. And I agree. I totally agree with that. And so he was like, he ain't having that. He gonna talk to Marsau. And then it said to be continued. And that's pretty much where the episode left off. That little talk that Marsau gonna have looks like that's gonna be interesting. I'm not looking forward to Kiki bringing in this drama about Marsau cheating. We about to take a wrong road. Love Marriage Huntsville, but whatever. We gonna be here for the drama. Anyway, y'all, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I will talk to y'all soon about Love is Blind, and we'll finish catching up. And y'all have a good night. Bye.